that philosophy that all one race superior and the other inferior. It's not we create that philosophy. Until the color of a man's skin is of no significance than the color of his eyes. It's not we come up with that thing. Say a color of a man's skin is different from the color of one man's skin. I mean, color of a man's skin is no different from the color of a man. It's not we come up with that. We suffer through that thinking. And we supposed to lift up ourselves. Because Matthew say, we Africans will fight if it is necessary. Because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Me don't know how our next man interpret that the speech there. Bob Marley come add something like Bob Marley say, until there will be war. I Marley never talk about no war, but Bob Marley come say it and it reverberate all over the world. That some people, when them quote it, them say, Haile Selassie say war. Haile Selassie talk about, we Africans will fight if it is necessary, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Until that day. Well, I want to tell the people, them say that the day they not come yet. So until that philosophy, that all one race superior, we can think a different way. But right now, we Africans have to fight if it is necessary. Because when we look at where we are going now, and when we see the pangs of the British colony, the British Empire, raging its ugly head in the 21st century or so. When we hear a prime minister who family members is part of that slavers who enslave our African people. When we look on a lot of England, especially Liverpool, where black people build that. When we see black go fight war for Britain, and considering that the millions of African people who dead because of British enslavement and colonialism and slavery that perpetuates itself in different forms and shapes up to this day. When we see them set up a thing named the Commonwealth, and when we look on it, we ask the question, what is the purpose for we? What is it that the Commonwealth is offering we at this moment, given moment in time, that we should still be a member of that organization set up by the Queen? Why should we still insist to be a part of that? Why should we, in this time here, in the 21st century, a woman who is over 90, where elect and select one our relative to be the next king over we, and we, the slaves, not farmer slaves, we, the slave, go and bow in front of her and validate our choice. Validate our choice of slave master. So we now can look forward to our new slave master when that lady find her last resting place at 90 years old. Maybe she lived till she had 100 too. But she secure her successor. And the Negroes of the Commonwealth validate and agree without question, sign back the paper where say, His Majesty, Her Majesty, Queen of Jamaica and all the British colonies them that claim that them is independent, but still is sovereign members of the British Empire. Where are we standing in this time when everybody is searching for them sovereignty? Even Donald Trump come and say him is a nationalist. He might defend America first. And him going to make America great again. Donald Trump recognized the importance of my nation first. Chinaman come and he recognized China first before anything else. Him not an organization with the whole world. Him said China first, and anything where him involved in, him a do it because him say something dear for the Chinese people. And we who has suffered for how much 100 years and is still suffering, have a group of bossy slaves still hanging on to Queen Elizabeth fractal, still have our piece of metal in a place where it's supposed to represent the people of Jamaica. Have it in the place like a she in there. And we still have a representative of Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth sitting up in our big house named King's House with them first lady where we never select or elect or vote for, representing the Queen of England in this 21st century when everybody a look and a hold on them sovereignty. And a group of men especially will sit down with this lady and never ever bring up nothing that concern African people. Nothing at all. More than say, I vote. And who cares if you want to say the next king is what the Queen said. She said, and that's final. All you have to do is just agree with that. Or else. Rastafari is for a slope. I mean, the thing has get sloppier and sloppier. If there's such a word. And everyone says slippery and slipperier. Because it's like ones and ones. I mean, them can't say it on a stage. Jah, Rastafari, and everybody ball out in unison. Rastafari. But the intention, the purpose that Rastafari was created for, the elevation of Rastafari as a revolutionary black African force to bring to the attention of African people that we need to be liberated. We need to be liberated. Marcus Garvey's philosophy is a blueprint for understanding what should be and should not be done in order to bring about this liberation. Some people want to carry the thing around over there, so. And we see it. It's a dangerous thing. And the problem with it is that you can't tell them nothing. Them can't tell them nothing. You look at all at someone and say, what you know? to each his own. But then Rastafari wasn't not to each his own, you know. Rastafari was a collective understanding of self and the movement of African people. Say Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. And the fight against white supremacy, if you read Leonard Howell, The Promise Key, you will understand how important and vital it is to maintain that image of Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. That consciousness that say black power, that a whole heap of people afraid to say it. A man will talk about him black skin, and him talk about, yes, me black and this and this and that. But the essence of it, the essence we are talking about now, maintain it right through. Not just when you sing it. Not just when you sing it, but when you talk it. When you articulate it. In your movement all over the place. You don't come say one something over here, so, and when you're gone in Germany, Belgium, France, Italy, Spain, you start to say something different to appease them. That is a weakness that even them don't like. That even them don't like. When you start to appease because you stand up in front of Germans and you stand up in, they must know who you be. And don't forget that. They must know who you is. And respect that too. Because you know, look nobody if love you. You look some, they say, boy, you liberate yourself so you want to. If you don't love I, but respect I. I mean, I don't really become and see you now. I include you in the black liberation process. I might include you in something else. Because that is how we are as African people. We now eliminate one part of the human race. But we have to say that we have a problem here so now where we have to solve it first. We have to solve it first. That is what it is all about. Solving this crazy thinking where African people have that a white man will come save them, come out of the sky, come save them. That them put all of them trust and belief and ideas and concepts in one book were written how much years? Hundreds and thousands of years ago. And them still hold fast to it and don't recognize that it is the same thing that enslaved them and the same thing that made them save them there and them going dead. I think the same way where them grandparents used to think and them grandparents never reach nowhere in life. And them use it for in slavery in a different way and a different form. I would say a whole heap of Rasta I get tricked by that idea. And we never lose our humanity. We never lose our humanity. Where we lose is with dignity. It's with dignity we lose, not with humanity. And that is where we have to really reclaim now with dignity. Or we start to disrespect one another. Or we are walking on the road and a cuss. And when we see white people are pass, we anger them a different way. Or when we listen to Andrea the other day, and me hear a youth call say a crash happen out there so. And the first thing the police asked me if there's no white people in the bus. That are in a Jamaica, bus crash and turn over. And you call the police station and say of course the bus crash and turn over, and the first thing them ask, the white people was in the bus, or the tourists was in the bus. And we know when them say tourists, them don't mean black people. Because I see some of my black brethren, them American brethren come visit tourism, and police stop them, see them, we angle them like say, until them find out, say, but wait, when the man talk, him not talk with a Jamaican accent. But right away, from him look on the white man, that's why the green, one of the policeman are green, when them green, we gone back England, say, the reason why, the problem with him have with Jamaican police is that them respect color. And him I talk about, say them respect him because him white. But them other officers who is like them no respect them. And him see that, and him is an English white man, I say that. So when we reach a stage where bus turn over and police are asked if any tourists in the bus, you know, so you have a serious problem. Apart from the bus turn over, but the policeman in a serious problem when they ask them question there. When you cannot try to appease people by becoming some other thing, some other one, some other self, you're in a serious problem. When you want to facilitate a certain climate and behavior, and you start to twist up yourself to become that behavior, and you know, so not so you stay, and not so you must look, and not so you feel, then you know so you're in a serious problem. We have to rise. We have to rise up and recognize that we're in a problem. There was a time when Europeans did a run left Europe, a run left England, Scotland and Wales to go to other places, even in Africa. Now we are run left Africa to go to Europe, and hundreds of people are trying to cross over to Europe and I crash and I tumble over. Tumble over. Boat turn over and kill them. White people go and mash up Syria. And them have the biggest refugee problem in the history of the world. Because white people go bomb up the place. Refugee problem, Iraq. Refugee problem. And now them want to turn we who was slaves in a refugee also, who was slaves in a them colonial system. We never asked to come here. We never asked to come here. We never asked to come here. And then bring we here. And you have some little idiot African, I tell you about, say, would have it better if we did there. Would have it better off just so that if we did there Africa, because we did a run up and down without clothes and all that. So me hear black people say that in a Jamaica. Me hear black people say that when you start to bring up the African thing to them, say, Muta, you know, say we're better off when we're there, so. Because look how we did all live in Africa. Because that is the perception and concept where them give away. And we believe it and we accept it. That's why we have a picture of a white man on the wall, and every day we close our eye and pray, and I think on the image of him we have prayed too. And things are going to change for we. Look how much black people are suffering in the world. And this God, when they talk about this Christian God, stand up and watch it happen. So I can't stop it. Him refuse to stop it. Him can't stop it. Something is happening, something wrong is happening there. Where's the compassion? Where's the benevolence? That you can say thousands of people dying and you can stop it, but don't stop it. So it's either you can't stop it and you refuse to stop it, or you cannot stop it. It must be one out of the two. Because if you can't stop it and you refuse to stop it, and see so many people, then where's the compassion? Where is the the energy, that sympathy, that all that feeling of love where human beings crave. How could I see that taking place and I can't stop it and don't stop it? What manner of being would I be? I mean, literally, if I can stop all the people them in the world to suffer from suffering, and I refuse to stop it and make it continue, what kind of being am I? So it's either I can't stop it and refuse to stop it, or I cannot stop it. And if I cannot stop it, this idea of being all powerful, omnipotent, is a madness. If I am omnipotent and this evil, this scourge is taking place, where men is just wantonly killing, creating wars, and the destruction of civilization become like a normal thing. And these things is going on for years and hundreds of years and hundreds of years. And I, the all-powerful, all-being, is seeing all this thing. And don't stop it. What am I waiting for? This is the cutting edge. And I reaffirm, we're there with you. Yes. The bottom line is, I don't know where you want to take it, that Rastafari is a black power movement with a spiritual nucleus. Rastafari is a black power movement with a spiritual nucleus. Yes, cutting edge, we're there with you. Listen, and listen well. Listen.
In the 18th century, British merchants shipped around 3 million people from West Africa across the Atlantic to the Americas and sold them into slavery. They made £4 trillion from the unpaid labour alone. Portugal and Holland pioneered this slave route. Britain made a national fortune from it. Much of the Britain we know today was built with slave money. Ports, cities and canals. Even the Church of England has admitted making money from the slave business. By the 19th century, a fifth of the British elite had made their fortunes from slavery. Among them, David Cameron's distant cousin, General Sir James Duff. The Liverpool merchants who founded what's now Barclays Bank were slave traders. In 1833, when slavery was abolished, slave owners were paid £20 million in compensation for their loss of property. That's £2 billion today. More than 10 million people died as a direct result of the Atlantic slave trade, but the survivors got nothing. West Africa, nothing. Now 15 Caribbean states, including Jamaica, have launched the first united campaign for reparations from Britain, France and Holland. They have suggested compensation equal to the sum offered to slave owners in the 1830s, £2 billion. They also want an apology.
Don't blush.
Recognition of the historic atrocity.
They hid in caves. My great-grandmother was born in a cave to make sure that she was not born as a slave. And that is what Britain perpetuated.
But the British government has refused to give either. David Cameron's first official visit to Jamaica has amplified calls on Britain to agree to reparations. Some argue that if Britain did pay, it wouldn't be the elite footing the bill but the tax-paying working classes. Others have said this was 200 years ago, it's in the past, why should I pay now? In Jamaica, slavery was followed with a century of colonialism.
Most of the land is still in the hands of Europeans.
When the Brits left in 1962, 80% of the population were functionally illiterate. Male literacy remains 4 points below the global average. 19% of the country live in poverty. When historic crimes have generational victims, who should pay?
REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Madam President, and gentlemen, ladies of the House, standing here with 8 minutes in my hands and at this venerable and rather magnificent institution, I was going to assure you that I belong to the Henry VIII School of Public Speaking, that as Henry VIII said to his wives, I shall not keep you long. But now finding myself the seventh speaker out of 8 in what must already seem a rather long evening to you, I rather feel like Henry VIII's last wife. I more or less know what's expected of me, but I'm not sure how to do it any differently. Perhaps what I should do is really try and pay attention to the arguments that were advanced by the opposition today. We had, for example, Sir Richard Ottaway challenging the very idea that it could be argued that the economic situation of the colonies was actually worsened by the experience of British colonialism. Well, I stand to offer you the Indian example, Sir Richard. India's share of the world economy when Britain arrived on its shores was 23%. By the time the British left, it was down to below 4%. Why? Simply because India had been governed for the benefit of Britain. Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its depredations in India. In fact, Britain's industrial revolution was actually premised upon the deindustrialization of India. The handloom weavers, for example, famed across the world, whose products were exported around the world, Britain came right in. There were actually these weavers making fine muslin, light as woven air, it was said. And Britain came right in, smashed their thumbs, broke their looms, imposed tariffs and duties on their cloth and products, and started, of course, taking the raw materials from India and shipping back manufactured cloth, flooding the world's markets with what became the products of the dark and satanic mills of Victorian England. That meant that the weavers in India became beggars, and India went from being a world-famous exporter of finished cloth into an importer, went from having 27% of world trade to less than 2%. Meanwhile, colonialists like Robert Clive bought their rotten boroughs in England on the proceeds of their loot in India, while taking the Hindi word loot into their dictionaries as well as their habits. And the British had the gall to call him Clive of India, as if he belonged to the country, when all he really did was to ensure that much of the country belonged to him. By the end of the 19th century, the fact is that India was already Britain's biggest cash cow, the world's biggest purchaser of British goods and exports, and the source of highly paid employment for British civil servants. We literally paid for our own oppression. And as has been pointed out, the wealthy Victorian British families that made their money out of the slave economy, 1/5 of the elites of the wealthy class in Britain in the 19th century owed their money to transporting 3 million Africans across the waters. And in fact, in 1833, when slavery was abolished, what happened was that a compensation of £20 million was paid, not as reparations to those who had lost their lives or who had suffered or been oppressed by slavery, but to those who had lost their property. I was struck by the fact that your Wi-Fi password at this union commemorates the name of Mr. Gladstone, the great liberal hero. Well, I'm sorry, his family was one of those who benefited from this compensation. Staying with India, between 15 and 29 million Indians died of starvation in British-induced famines. The most famous example, of course, was the Great Bengal Famine during the Second World War, when 4 million people died because Winston Churchill deliberately, as a matter of written minuted policy, proceeded to divert essential supplies from civilians in Bengal to sturdy Tommies and Europeans as reserve stockpiles. He said that the starvation of anyway underfed Bengalis mattered much less than that of sturdy Greeks. This is Churchill's actual quote. And when conscience-stricken British officials wrote to him, pointing out that people were dying because of this decision, he peevishly wrote in the margins of the file, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" So all notions that the British were trying to do their colonial enterprise out of enlightened despotism, to try and bring the benefits of colonialism and civilization to the benighted heathen. I'm sorry, Churchill's conduct in 43, simply one example of many that gave a lie to this myth. As others have said on the proposition, violence and racism were the reality of the colonial experience. And no wonder that the sun never set on the British Empire, because even God couldn't trust the English in the dark.
REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Call for the wake up, yes, wake up. No, so we are going. No, so we are going. Rise we fall, but guess what? Have a rise, you know, say, the only reason for look bong, come again. The only reason for look down upon somebody is because you're going to pick them up. Yes. So, we're there with you. The time is 12 o'clock in Jamaica. Yes, cutting edge. So, we say, the government, Jamaican government, not recognizing that a whole heap of people look to Jamaica for that inspiration. As we started out with Marcus Garvey, Rastafari, reggae music, etc., them looking to Jamaica, them see Jamaica as a kind of vanguard leader in the whole process of liberation. And when we look and see what is taking place right now with the so-called leaders of Jamaica, it left to be questioned if these people understand how we are viewed out there, because them not go out there like how we go out there. We know that. None of them government ministers go to place them where we go and interact with the normal people them. When I talk about queen and king, but we interact with kings and queens too. But most of the time we interact with the normal people. And we hear them cry. And we hear how them think and feel as it relates to Jamaica. Them people don't know. Them really don't know how we are viewed outside the earth there. It's a pity. It's a pity that them don't know. Really, really pity.
Came from. You know, all of the pictures that they've shown out of Africa, they've never really educated the Americans, white or black, about what really goes on in Africa, what some of the cities are really like. And that we're not running around over there with Tarzan, you know, and when they show anything from Africa, even down to today, they pick the worst scenes, the most terrible situations, you know, and they show those. But we have a proud history. But of course, what we did in Egypt 5,000 years ago, or what we did in China 35,000 years ago, is of no benefit if we don't understand what to do today and how that would help us to survive. We discovered the clock. We did discover the wheel. The black man has never been a caveman. You've never been in a cave. There's no history of it. You've ever been in a cave. We discovered mathematics and the alphabet and writing and all of those great things that they have built a foundation on, that they came and got and took back to other countries. We don't know what Africa would be like without the white influence. We don't know what it would be like without the Rockefellers or De Beers and all of them. We don't know what Africa would have been like. We do know that there were greater places in Africa other than Egypt, which is the only one they let us know about.
Concurrently and simultaneously during the Pyramid Age, there are great things happening in West Africa. But very seldom. There are nations known as Dar-Tichit. Dar-Tichit is now, would geographically presently be located where Ghana is. We had the Nak culture, which is where we today would call Nigeria. We have the Monomotapa Empire in what today we call Zimbabwe. There are over 300 stone structures in southern Africa. And then you have that great structure in the great Zimbabwe that shows a direct relationship to the Grand Lodge of Luxor in Egypt. You have Puanit, which is in today's Somalia, Ethiopia. You have the Kush empires that are simultaneously happening. When Hatshepsut, the great Pharaoh king, although she was a woman, she was a Pharaoh king, sitting on the throne of Kemet, her cousin sits on the throne of Puanit, or what we call Somalia. There are great things happening historically across the African continent. You have the kingdoms of Kuba and Luba in Central Africa.
Mansa Musa was the king of Mali in the 1300s, very wealthy brother. During the dark age of Europe was going through a dark age, Africa was thriving. It was the gold capital. Mansa Musa was considered the wealthiest man on the planet at the time. Mansa Musa had a very well-known pilgrimage to Mecca, where he went to Egypt and went to Mecca and went through Egypt, and he gave out so much gold, it threw off the Egyptian economy. In today's terms, Mansa Musa gave away what would be the equivalent of $100 million in gold.
The African was the first race to circumnavigate the entire globe.
All over Africa, all over the world, the peoples of color that they call Africans, South Pumalanians, we were all over the world. So to say that in Ghana they had the Ashanti, they had, all over, we had powerful dynasties, so innumerable we couldn't even name them. Because remember, we had hundreds of thousands of years, and that's the secret. They cut us off at 6,000 because anything beyond that they could say is mystery. They could say is myth. So when you control the information, which is essentially what they've learned to do, under the Vatican they have about 6 to 8 miles of storage space that have all of our artifacts. And the Virgin Mother being black, all of the faces. We have to take apart the layers that are actually constructed in the lie. They're layered. For instance, you have a discipline in academia called Egyptology. Now, what is Egyptology? They say, well, it's the study of Egypt. Well, no, it's not the study of Egypt. Egyptology was created by the Vatican in order to make sure that there was a screening mechanism in place to explain away the truth that was being excavated every year, that kept giving them proof of who the ancient Kemites were. So Egyptology and Egyptologists are essentially agents of this information. Where else do you see a society, a people, and a way of life actually become a science? Unless you have specific purposes to make sure that the information that you are gathering on those people are given the proper perspectives to maintain the lie. So you don't get an Americology, you don't get Europology, you don't get Russiaology.
Richard Pryor, right? When he had his special back in 1977, there's a scene. They only allowed him to do 5 shows. In fact, they were rather ignorant because it took him 5 shows to realize what the brother was really doing. Richard Pryor, there's a scene where he goes in to the pyramids, and he is carrying the bags of the archaeologists and the anthropologists who are of European descent. And they're talking amongst themselves about what this find is and its importance, the greatness of it. And Richard Pryor is in this temple looking all around, and he begins to say, all these people are black. He said, look at that guy over there, that guy looks like my uncle. And he's just, it's humorous. But what Richard Pryor is actually talking about is that, these are black people in these pyramids, and these are the people that built these pyramids. He's saying, wait a minute, these people... And then all of a sudden, the camera begins to show the anthropologists of European descent, and they start to nudge each other because they realize, hey, you know, the guy carrying the bags is looking around and he's learning some things in here. So very quietly, you see them backing out of the pyramid, right? And Richard Pryor is still there talking about how great the pyramid is, and then all of a sudden, they show you the door close, and all of a sudden the scene goes black. Which means that was the blackout on the information for black folk to understand their history. This is what Richard Pryor was dropping on us in 1977. This is what actually has happened. Richard was telling us, this is what has happened to us. Because as you become conscious and brother becomes conscious and as a community we become conscious, the Europeans who know this are beginning to realize. So they're trying to shut the door on us.
REFM, thought-provoking, always smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
My mama, she walked in your studio, and I think I told you this. You would think God just spit her out if she was alive today. Just as gentle and peaceful. But if you try to convince my mama that Jesus Christ wasn't a Christian, she would stomp you to death. Why? Why would she? Huh? Because she didn't know Christianity never happened until 100 years after Jesus was dead. She didn't know Jesus' brother James. They murdered him the same way they murdered Jesus. She didn't know that King James Version, that's the only version she knew. And King James was honest, more honest than my mother. He didn't say it was Jesus' version, God's version, Buddha's version, Muhammad's version. He said, this is my version. Huh? Okay? She didn't know King James was king of England. She didn't know that King James was such a weird, strange homosexual. He hated women so bad he killed his mama. And his lover was Lord Buckingham, who Buckingham Palace named after us.
Right.
And so I'm talking about that type of ignorance that you just sit and pick up something. And so when you look at, you know, what they tell us and all the things that they do. You ever been to a big cathedral? You ever see them goblins? Those men with them wings on?
Yes, sir.
You ever see them little 2-year-old naked boys with angel wings? Not girls. They ain't got no naked girls. That's where pedophilia come from, okay? All right? And yet and still we embrace that mess. I can go anywhere in the world today and see a prostitute, and that streetwalker, I can recognize her as a prostitute by the way she walked, the way she talked, the way she chewed a gum, the way she would. But if I come to Memphis today and you introduce, if they don't tell me they're Christians, I don't know they one. How can I recognize a hoe by their demeanor, but I don't know you're a Christian till you tell me one? Huh? There's something wrong with that. And so the great thing about truth in the world, it don't stop just because of somebody's ignorance. Somebody's been trained to believe something to enhance other people. And so consequently, I went to a high school called Sumner High School. Bulldogs. Did your school have a mascot? What was the name of it?
At first it was the Rebels, then they changed to the Wolverine.
Okay, the Rebels, right? But now, you know what you could not name that public school? The Sumner High School Green Jesus. Hummus High School White Jesus. Black Jesus. Why? Because the church in the state, right? But have you ever seen a school named the Charles Sumner High School Red Devils? The Blue Devils? Now, I live in a Christian society. You can name a school after the devil, but you can't name it after Jesus. Huh?
Yeah, wow, it's powerful.
Yes, that is Dick Gregory. Late Dick Gregory. Yes. Cutting edge, RFM. Sometimes some people copy you, you're supposed to feel good. And we want to feel good because we know at least 5 radio stations in England. Well, not 5 in each of them, but we're talking about 5 different radio stations from the west coast of America and the east coast of America, and in England, and in where the island name? Oh gosh, man. Where the island name? Anyway, yes, Saint Martin, where have programs where is spin off from the cutting edge over the years, and we feel good to know that we could create such a vibration out there that ones can see necessary to really start a program like the cutting edge, to really come with some alternative understanding of self. And we should even call it alternative thing still. You know, is the wrong thing is the alternative, the right thing is the real thing. It's like people that talk about alternative lifestyle. You know, where you eat certain vegetables and them thing there. Vegetarianism. No. It's the real thing. Real thing. But why listen to this? Because this is what we're all about. Information. I will present it to you. Whether you want to accept it or not, that is also your business, but we there have to do it.
10 Secrets of Ancient Egypt. Number 10. Who built the pyramids? Despite the prevalent myth that the pyramids were built by Israeli slaves, Egyptologists have determined that the pyramids were built by paid Egyptian laborers. Evidence shows that around 20 to 30,000 laborers were recruited from poor families around Egypt to complete the enormous construction over a period of 20 years. Laborers were extremely respected for their work and fed like royalty. The work was incredibly hard and dangerous, but those who died during the construction had the high honor of being buried near the sacred pyramids. Number 9. Medicine. The ancient Egyptians were renowned for their medical knowledge, so much so that rulers of other empires would request that the pharaoh send their Egyptian physicians to treat their own ill loved ones. Despite Egyptian doctors having an extensive knowledge of the medicinal properties of the plants around them, cures for ailments still included a magical spell. As well as herbal remedies, many other cures were based on sympathetic magic. For example, it was believed that a crushed-up pig's eye used in a treatment would transfer the power of sight into the patient's eye. Number 8. Shape-shifting Jesus. In 2013, an ancient Egyptian text was deciphered, retelling the crucifixion of Jesus, but with surprising plot twists. Dating back 1,200 years, the ancient text paints a markedly different picture of Pontius Pilate, the judge who ordered Jesus' execution. Instead of sharing his Last Supper with his 12 disciples, the text states that Jesus shared his last meal with Pontius Pilate, who offered to sacrifice his own son in order to save Jesus' life. Even more shocking are the allegations in the text that Jesus was a shapeshifter, with the ability to change from white to red or young to old. Number 7. Hebsed. After a pharaoh had ruled for 30 years, they took part in a strange ritual known as Hebsed in order to prove that they still had the power and strength necessary to rule the kingdom. The ceremony, which once initiated took place every 3 years until the pharaoh's death, saw them dressed in a short kilt with a bull's tail on their back as they were forced to run as fast as possible around a racetrack. In early practices of the ceremony, any pharaoh too unfit to complete the course was sacrificed and replaced with a fitter successor. Number 6. White Pyramids. When the Great Pyramid of Giza was completed in 2560 BCE, it was plated with a smooth surface of polished white limestone, which gleamed in the sun's light. However, in 1301 CE, a massive earthquake hit Egypt and loosened many of the casting stones. The damage to the outer pyramids prompted rulers to reuse the stones to build mosques in Cairo. As impressive as it still looks, what can be seen now of the Great Pyramid of Giza is just its core structure. Number 5. The Female Pharaoh. One of the most successful pharaohs to rule ancient Egypt was almost lost to history until her story was uncovered on temple walls during the 19th century. Hatshepsut came to the throne of ancient Egypt around 1478 BCE. During her reign, Egypt enjoyed great peace and prosperity. Hatshepsut cultivated beneficial trade routes and oversaw incredible construction projects throughout her kingdom. However, 20 years after her death, her successors began a campaign of erasing Hatshepsut from history. Statues of her were destroyed and her name was scraped off the buildings constructed under her rule. Number 4. Sunken cities. Thonis Heracleion, one of the greatest cities of ancient Egypt, remained lost for 1,000 years until it was rediscovered underwater only 20 years ago. Thought to have been founded in 7 BCE, Thonis Heracleion was a major trade center linking ancient Greece, Egypt, and the wider Mediterranean. Archaeologists excavating the site have found a host of perfectly preserved pillars of hieroglyphics, as well as statues of Greek gods and rulers depicted in the fashion of Egyptian pharaohs. It is thought that the discovery of the lost city will transform our understanding of the deep connection between the ancient civilizations. Number 3. Masturbation rituals. In ancient Egyptian mythology, the god Atum created the universe by masturbating into the vast nothingness. Meanwhile, the other gods spontaneously grew out of Atum's ejaculate. The ebb and flow of the River Nile was also attributed to Atum's semen. This concept inspired the annual pharaoh ceremony, in which, as God's representative on earth, the pharaoh had to recreate the creation myth. In front of a crowd, the pharaoh would masturbate and ejaculate into the River Nile in order to ensure a year of bountiful harvest. Number 2. Biblical plagues. Scientists have found evidence that the biblical plagues that ruined ancient Egypt in the Old Testament were due to global warming and a volcanic eruption. The reported plague of the Nile, which turned the river's water into blood 3,000 years ago, is hypothesized to have been caused by the arrival of bacterium, known as burgundy blood algae, which stain water red. The scientists claim that the algae attracted frogs, lice, and flies, which led to diseased livestock and boils. Furthermore, there is evidence that the Santorini volcano, which erupted 600 kilometers away, threw ash into the air as far as Egypt, which would have blocked out the sun and plunged Egypt into darkness. Number 1. Incest. In ancient Egyptian mythology, many deities were married to their siblings. Although there is little evidence to suggest that common Egyptians married their siblings, incest was rife for generations of the royal family. Due to siblings marrying each other, many members of the royal family, such as Tutankhamun, suffered from a range of malformations, infections, and genetic diseases. He suffered from weak bones and was unable to walk without help, contributing to his early death at age 19.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, went ahead over to our brand new...
With Mutabaruka, we are listening to our laments. You know here, continent, the end, the end.
Tell me the difference between a servant and a slave. Yes, cutting edge. Ale.
Yeah, Muta.
Blessed man.
Yeah, greetings. Yeah, that track, Crucial Banky. What's the name of that track, please?
Name Questions.
Questions?
Yeah, Questions.
Okay, give thanks. Respect.
All right, blessed man. Yes, a serious track, you know? Yeah, man. A serious track, that. Okay, here we go. We are call them. Okay. Yes, Ale.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking the name of the track.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you Questions.
Can you play it back? Is it possible? It's a wicked track, trust me.
A good track, it's not wicked, it's nice, it's nice.
Yeah, man, yeah, give thanks.
Ale.
Yeah, Muta.
We want wait, Mandingo.
Yeah, man, Mandingo, yeah, man.
Long time I don't hear you, man.
Yes.
But I come to England and I don't ever see you.
Eh?
I come to England and I don't ever see you.
But you don't have my number, man. You never phone me.
Yeah, which number? When I talk about phone, I tell you, I come to England, I tell you, you never tell the show all over the place.
Yeah, but you have my number. They not just like the time before, man. Then you know.
So me have to call you for you come on the show.
You know, phone and link me. Some would know where to link you.
No, wait them. Me have to call you for you come on the show.
Rhodes, me would have call you, man. Just like.
No, me not talk about calling me now. For call me too. Me say. So you never intend for come on the show unless me call you.
No, you for call me because you know.
So that's why you don't come on the show too. Me not call you.
Me would have call you.
So me I say no. Man, they go. I true me never call you. Why you not come on the show?
Hold on. My show pick on me even though you never call me already. You know the time before. You know.
No, no, me a talk, man. No.
Yeah. But me just show you as an example. Even though you never did link me when you did come the time before, me still come at the show up come.
Yeah.
Saying, right?
Anyway.
And yeah, man, yes, so the thing go. Cause me come in where you there, my phone you still. But Andrew Honest, in gave a speech last Friday, the 20th, and was very interesting in Kilburn. Place pack, because a whole cinema, some church love it from our community named Rock at Kilburn High Road, a whole cinema where them convert. And he spoke for about an hour, and I listened to Andrew Honest, who is from Spanish Town, just like myself. Very interesting, and also the question and answer segment. And what I and others notice is that there is no reference for Africans, and Africans are the vast majority of the population of Jamaica, over 90%. And he mentioned how he was Minister of Education, and as we know, under both PMP and JLP, we still don't have the teachings of Marcus Garvey in the school system, Marcus Garvey book.
Yeah.
And a questioner asked Andrew Honest that they fear that the Chinese and the Indians will colonize Jamaica, Africans in Jamaica, just like how the British enslave and colonize, you know, our people there in Jamaica and so on. And you know, Andrew Honest's answer was that him don't want to talk about racial groupings. Now, over 90% of the Jamaican population is African. No matter what the names them want to use to themselves and bleach them skin and do a kind of operation to try destroy that which them can't change, them African race. And he's saying that him don't want to talk about racial groupings. Racial groupings have to talk because I, as a Marcus Garvey African and other Africans in Jamaica who conscious and know themselves, we do have no intention of exchanging British colonialism for any Chinese or any Indian or any non-African colonialism of our people in Jamaica. No way, no shame, no farm. So, being African in Jamaica, that is not going to go away. And this is the fundamental problem that we have in Jamaica, that Jamaica will never progress until the teachings of Marcus Garvey are implemented practically, meaning that African people in Jamaica stop trying to run away from them African race identity, calling themselves West Indian, black, colored. There's a next stupid word about colored. Everybody have color. This thing about people of color is a way of not wanting to identify yourself as an African. I am not no person of no colored or no colored person. I am an African. Stupid, nonsensical term, as Marcus Garvey Jr. used to say too. For real. And the next thing, when the question was asked about homosexuality, because he had some interviews and same Theresa May, that same racist business going on as in the Dominican Republic, as you said, and to be given the president of the Dominican Republic, who killing and murdering Africans in the Dominican Republic, because of them Haitian African thing, the racist thing, and him get award, which should not have happened. You mentioned it earlier, and you have done that before too, and myself, right? And this is the kind of thing trying to avoid dealing with the real issues, you know, and there's no getting away from that. He spoke about wanting investment from the USA, wanting investment from Britain, wanting investment from Canada. And I shouted out while he was speaking, what about the investments that Africans overseas in Britain, in the USA, Canada and elsewhere?
And in Africa
we invest the most in Jamaica in terms of remittances and other forms of investment in Jamaica. Nobody do invest in Jamaica like from overseas, like our people overseas. And what do we have to show for our remittances and for other investments?
Them not a remittance bring more than tourism.
What?
Remittance is more than tourism, bring more than tourism.
Of course. And the thing about tourism, as Marcus Garvey Jr. used to say in the 1960s at Kingston Technical, you cannot build a country depending on tourism, because tourism is a fickle industry. One moment, your country is a place where everybody wants to go, and then the next moment is the next country.
You have hurricane.
You must build, you thing have to build on things that are grounded and depend on your resources in the country. You cannot depend on tourism, which depend on whether people want to come to your country or not. Because people, in terms of traveling and visiting places, them fickle. One moment your country carry the swing, the next moment is the next country carrying the swing.
War, civil war, murders.
Precisely. And the important thing is, and the next thing that he omitted totally to mention, what about the lack of medical facilities in Jamaica for the vast population of the people? People die in Jamaica, the vast majority who are African, because we are the majority of the population, because there is not enough investment for proper facilities for the health of our people, and no country can progress if you don't have a proper health system. In Jamaica, if you don't have money, you die because you cannot afford the medical bills.
Money buy life.
And this affects the African race more than any other race in Jamaica, because we are the vast majority and we are the most exploited. You know? And these are the things even people who normally not political was saying, but we don't really impressed with what Andrew, we come to hear what he had to say. And as I did, because I wanted to hear what he had to say, you know. But him not coming with solutions. And when you're trying to distance yourself from the racial situation, it's just like when Peter Phillips of the PNP was here some time ago, in the PNP time when Portia Simpson was the Prime Minister. And somebody in the audience asked him a question about the danger of Chinese colonialism. Peter Phillips was saying the same type of thing. He's saying, we must not be prejudiced. What kind of foolishness is that? We have a right to be concerned about Chinese and any non-African form of colonialism in Jamaica and anywhere else in the African world. We have to deal with that, because I and I, as Africans, students of Marcus Garvey, have absolutely no intention that we as Africans in Jamaica and in Africa and elsewhere to be colonized by any non-Africans. Simple, and that is not going to go away. I'm talking about, and we was mentioning investments from China and too. We, our people outside of Jamaica, we invest the most in Jamaica. Money, buildings, jobs, etc. And what happened? A lot of our people in Jamaica die because of violent crime, murder and that type of thing.
Yeah.
You cannot have progress in a society development when there people operating in a business environment where them fearing for them lives just to operate in business.
Yeah.
There can be no such progress. And these things, Andrew Onis, have to be dealt with. And the issue of us as Africans, not going to go away and mention that Mike Henry from his party. There was mention about reparations, that Mike Henry from his party dealing with reparations.
Yeah.
That is Mike Henry as an individual.
Yeah.
I and I as Africans been fighting for reparations with Marcus Garvey Jr. You know that Muta from Kingston Technical days and so on. Right? And reparations has to be done in unity with our other African countries in Mother Africa. It cannot be a thing about divide and rule where you're only dealing within the Caribbean, within CARICOM. It has to be involved totally. It must be a Pan-African thing, reparations. And it's reparations not just from European Christians, but also from Arab Muslims, as Marcus Garvey Jr. said. And also from the Semitic Jews too, who were involved in our enslavement. So we have to deal with these things. And he was mentioning something about how reggae is popular and sports and so. Yes, sports, you see the Bolt winning things and so. But you see in Bolt and others winning games, don't put food on our table. We want to deal with the concrete realities of economic things to benefit the vast majority of our people in Jamaica as African people. Because we have always got the worst deal from chattel enslavement coming straight through to now. And these are the things that we will not let go away. And this is why we will always work to implement what Marcus Garvey is saying, because anyone who is against the teachings and practice of Marcus Garvey's Black Print solution is against independence and progress to the African race. Look at the British Commonwealth. Elizabeth II said that she wants Charles, her son, to become the next head. Now, what some people are saying, which is true, why is it that the British monarch must always be head of the so-called Commonwealth? It should rotate. She said that, and it's 53 countries in this, what them call Commonwealth. And all 53 of them, the other 52, vote unanimously.
But them never said nothing about nothing. Not as it relates to African, the diaspora, so in terms of reparation, in terms of this idea of the Commonwealth, none of them not say nothing. Nothing. Them not say nothing.
But yes, this is anti-African. No wonder people have the mentality, people have been miseducated in Jamaica to hate them African identity. Nothing to deal with our progress as African people. The Queen tell them that she want this person to be our successor. And everybody say, yes, you me want to be my successor too. Yeah, and every one of them vote and carry out our wish.
No abstaining. No abstaining.
Buhari in Nigeria, Onis in Jamaica, whoever in Barbados, whoever in Trinidad and Tobago, all of them. None of them make a stand to say, no, we have to have a break from the past. So what is this telling you? This is a continuation of the British Empire, which was the biggest genocidal empire in history. Where enslaved our people.
Lucky. The whole of them is lucky.
Lucky, yes.
Yes. Anyway.
No. I mean, him can talk, him have lyrics and thing, you know. Yeah, but it's not lyrics do this with we as African people, you know. No. What the only thing of importance for me as an African is what is of benefit for my African race in and outside of Jamaica.
Yeah.
Being Jamaican is just a nationality, a citizenship. We could have been born in any other country. But as Peter Tosh, my favorite wheeler, say, no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from you have the African features, that you're an African. And that's why Marcus Garvey said, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. And we as Africans will not progress on the global stage if Africans in Africa and Africans outside of Africa, if we both groups don't come together and work, as Marcus Garvey said, which was what he did when he established the UNIA and ACL on the 20th of July.
Rapper move.
Yes, every time. Yes, people, hold the faith.
Give
Marcus
thanks.
Garvey every time.
Yeah, man, I see it. Yes, a serious thing. The man never, none of them, never mention nothing that is to the black majority in the Caribbean, British Commonwealth. What is the purpose of we being a part of the British? What is the benefits now? When I talk about in the 1960s, or 1950s, or even 1970s, I say, what is the benefit now for us to be in the British Commonwealth? Because the wealth is not common. The wealth is not common. What is the hell is happening to these black people, these so-called leaders? What the hell them dealing with? Yeah, brethren, you have to go call back the operator and get your number and your name and the name of the school. Because we hear the Prime Minister talk certain things, So we're going to figure out if really where I say is where it's supposed to happen. Because you lick the picture have to go to hospital. No, sir. And you're going to report it to police and no, it can't work. We're done with them things now. Trust me. We're done with them things now. Yes. Ill. What? Not gone to? Okay. All right. Ill? What? Yes, speak.
Yes, Mutabaruka.
All right, blessed man.
Blessed love. I have a burning issue with the pension people them.
Yeah.
Them ask I say to ask the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and the Governor General. So what am I deal with them pension?
Who asked them that?
Them say them not get no pension when them slaves so hard. And at the time when them sit down now and forget the pension, them not get a little two pension and forget them. Them still hold it back. I wait till when them dead, them to take it back from them. But them say not even them family will get it. And with them say don't get it forward. So them would like to know, say, when them leave them work and forget them pension, them forget it. And they must stop sleep on them pension. Them forget that the little people them will them forget, man. Because when the time comes for them, get for them, or before the time, or the month, or whatever, them will get for them. So them to deal with the little people them right.
All right, sir.
Stop holding on them little pension money.
Yeah. The only problem is that them not listening now still. Maybe we should call another day and talk about that.
Well, we're calling our next day. I'm reasonable, I said, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Because serious thing with the people, them, because people them cry Rasta. Them cry out loud.
So where I said nobody now get no pension?
Right.
Nobody at all in Jamaica now get no pension?
I say some people get it still,
Yeah.
But a special people, them.
When you say special, like what? Like what make them special?
Because them say, who special now, all people, them say them in the bigger job and them kind of thing, them. See, at the top of the line, people, them, about the little people, them work hard.
No, well, how you know that? How you know that?
Because the people them are tell lie.
The people them are say the bigger people them are get the pension.
Some people in a bigger job because them you know to them class people, first, second and third class.
Who do that? In the pension scheme?
All that too. In a Jamaica everywhere.
No, we no brethren, you talk broad, you know, we are talking about pension and so now.
Yes.
The people them who are get pension is only people who is a what? In a what? What section the people them who are get pension in a?
Some of the people them where they bigger part of the job like some doctor.
Yeah, but me don't know people who get pension. No man, me know brethren, me know people who get pension and a doctor.
The minister them I get film pension and them resign, you know.
Yeah, well, no. The people them who me know, wait no man, the people them who me know where I get pension is neither doctor, lawyer, nor minister.
Alright.
I mean know people who get pension where neither doctor, lawyer, nor minister.
Alright, you know some of them. But,
yeah.
Alright. Some of them I get, you know, but enough of them now I get.
No, but me I try to figure out who I tell you that.
The pensioners them, man.
The pension, all the pensions them know say it's only doctors and lawyers that get pension.
All them know that?
Yeah, all them know that.
Because what?
Because it's not true. It's not because it's not true. Because I know people who's neither lawyer nor doctor will get pension.
Yes, we agree with that to the motor, but we are saying all of them I get it.
Yeah, but you talk abroad things and go certain people I get it.
Pension money.
What?
Not for them to start from them pension money, you know. Not for them now get it.
No, but I say people now get pension money, you know. But how you talk, you know.
You know that for sure.
Yo, the way you talk, it's like nobody in Jamaica now get pension money.
No, Mota man, no.
Oh, you mean no, Mota man? That's how you start out, you know. That's how you start out.
No, I never said that, man.
Yeah, man, that's how you start out, man. So the people them now get no pension money, and they start to say people who are doctor and lawyer and politicians.
You know, some big class, some so-called big class people, them get for them even before the month done. All the little people them were enslaved from such long time, we do all the street work and all them something, them kind of people there.
Yeah.
Well, see, them people there, sometimes I'll take out 3 or 4 months, some of them get.
All right, so what do you think should have happened now then? What do you think should have happened? You are called by the radio now, rectify it, you know. What do you think should have happened? Just give me a suggestion.
What do you think should happen?
Yeah. No, me know them should get them a pension, but since them now get it on time and proper, what do you think should have put in place for that happen?
I think them should have put in an equal rights to each and everyone, man. And just because some people in a class, bigger class work more than some. We think say everyone should have, when a month come, everyone should have them little share of them little pittance. If you get it bigger, you get it small. People them get it, man.
Okay.
Because them enslave people them from long time, and when retirement age come on, them forget them little things.
Yeah.
They forget it.
Yeah, it's hard when you not get it still, and you know, see how they depend on it. Yeah.
For real.
All right, brethren.
And more, I want to Kabu say, to give thanks for a response to the cause them we shall take a son morning now. Yeah, the cause them we shall take a son morning with one run African thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Kabu, I know I expect Kabu, you know, because it's Kabu now. Kabu I want our international Black revolutionary queen, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know. And I wish her all the best in her doings. We just go through and just know so what she not fear no evil, because evil can't overcome her.
All right, sir.
And you too, no motor.
Yeah, man, we are going through, man.
Yeah, man, just take the strongness.
All right.
And leave it, man.
Give thanks, brethren.
Every time.
I did. Yeah, this is the Cutting Edge on RFM. Yes, EL.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, blessed.
Yes, one who's always victorious. This is the bike
blessed,
messenger.
Man. A long time I don't hear you, man.
King. Yeah. Sabatos. Why did he start out with just to nice you up with a Mandela? He needs to know a younger lax person like me see what's going on, because he started out with rest in peace Winnie Mandela, by the way. He started out with Winnie Mandela, and then he said, all right, skip that now. Let me go to my problems now. You know? It's just the different callers.
So, you know, man, long time ago, you call, man.
I have so much things written down on paper right now.
Yeah?
Talk to you. Yeah, definitely, you know. Guess who sees me playing vintage videos of different 80s artists and contact me on Instagram?
Who that?
Officer Lang.
Okay.
King, I don't know. And I had to run to the bathroom when you tell a guy, go outside now and tell me if you see the sun.
Yeah, listen, man.
It's like our own people. It's like, where the common sense at? How is the world flat?
Yeah.
You know, so all these things sweet me. I don't, from when you don't hear me, I'm listening to everything I don't, when you don't hear me, I'm listening this way. Grace Jones, that's an honor. And I'm saying, when you're talking to her now, I'm saying, I know so she gonna let go too bad word.
yeah. I tell her on the TV the other night too, I do an interview.
It's an honor, Muta. Right now I'm trembling. I'm not used to talking to you again, because I haven't spoke to you in a while. Cause you're, just like the lady said, I wouldn't compare you to Michael Jackson, but I'm laughing because I know how you gonna react once you said that. So I'll be laughing. All right, okay.
So you're not singing nothing tonight? You're not singing nothing?
With this dance, huh?
You're not singing nothing tonight?
Of course, I'm putting out all the words, and then I'm gonna leave you with.
All right.
Okay, Mandingo with this thing now. I'm shocked just to see how we are in our ways, you know, because even growing up in America, I grew up around old time people from the islands, and once they're stuck in their ways, you can't tell them nothing. So Muta said, we not agree for disagree, nothing.
I have to do what right, like everything. Do what right, like everything.
King. It's easy because why? When I'm growing up, and even all right, with one of your sessions you had when the music influenced people. For me as a Yankee youth, when I used to listen to ODB and Nas and all that, and I'm jumping around in my house acting so-called gangster. Me know I say aggression. Me I put out.
Yeah.
I already, from a young youth, I already know. It's certain music. When I say bounty, I jump up, say this and that. When I'm young, I already know say aggression that.
Yeah.
And you see, you have some big man who's ignoring these situations. But and then King, you know why I know say aggression that, because if I grew up off of rockers and I grew up off of you on Sunsplash and certain thing, and then I'm growing up in a situation in the city. Me know I said no for go down them road there.
Yeah.
I know that you would be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an honor. I must leave you with a tenor saw. And then tomorrow, if I have a time to call you, I really wanted to finish talk about the Egyptian ancestors, which are the Cometians, and they left so much like laser cut stones that people we don't. You know, it's just so much, and it amazes me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna leave you with a little. It was a tenor saw dub,
all right,
from Kilimanjaro.
Yeah,
because the '80s is just the digital. It's so magical to me because I'm born 87, so by the time like 1995, I just started doing some research on the 80s sound system era, you know? All right, so this is tenor saw, right? All right. Where them I do, I may say, where them I try. Where them I do, I may say, where them I try. You try, yes, you try to test the king I-fi. Jaro is a mountain, a Zion I. Tempa, Papa Jaro in a tempa. So, you know, rest in peace, tenor star still, you know?
All right, so give thanks.
You know? All right, safe up, Muta, one love, right?
Yeah, give thanks. Yes, EL.
Muta.
Blessed man.
Yes, man. Yes.
Oh, you know, man.
Hey, where they are? Where you start? I don't know too much. I don't know enough how I should know about the Rasta thing and thing, but me kind of identify with some of what you talk. Like, it's like because most ones did under the Christian regime.
Yeah.
So I just want to reconcile everything when I talk to the Bible.
Yeah.
And them kind of try. It's a compromise to what me see. You understand? And so everything, them take it out of the Bible and them use everything. And that's so the movement water down.
Yeah, and the black consciousness come out tight. The whole for black consciousness come out tight.
Mm-hmm. And then the fight to make it get recognized, and then turn and say it's a religion. Because then as a way of getting to smoke the ganja as a sacrament and all them things. And they play like all the birds in the way play the tape where you play. It's hard for you to tell say it's an Indian attack.
Oh, the Indian attack about India.
A big joke of that,
Funny, man.
Yeah, but them Indian, them they go through something. So the indentured one, them will come down with it was a little joyride with them, and they were nothing so, and also, they're rough, because they trick them bad, whole heap of them, and carry them down,
But so them divide up India and call one side Pakistan.
Yeah, man. Remember when him do the planning, them take into consideration nothing but, so when divide up and make Bangladesh the way over. We over so and divide, left them and them the Arab side, the Muslim who were way over this one. And them cause most of the war, them man.
Yeah.
The problem with that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing them do down there so too. Because like with the indentured Indian them will come down now here, and then the Chinese. But with the Indian them, everywhere they go, they use the divide and conquer strategy,
Yeah.
And then make, see, that's why all you think we are in Trinidad has much problem. In the Indian, and the black man, and the Indian, them not Trinidad.
Yeah, more Indian in Trinidad now than black people.
And Guyana. That's what them do. In Rwanda, then get the Hutus and the Tutsis, them, them put one side and kind of half educate somebody and say, all right, that one the house slave,
Dominican, Haiti.
Everywhere they go, them do the
Dominican Republic. Another example of that.
Yeah, because them people, them better than that side.
Yeah, them want to go on the H and them hold them. Just like the Windrush pieces we are going now. That is where the Dominican Republic people them are trying to. So nobody never understands, say, that did not go on them with Dominica. The same thing where England are trying to bring off, And the same thing go on them with Dominica, and nobody never put the two of them together.
No. We didn't export that still when we hear them go through that.
Yeah, man, and then we elevate the prime minister of the Dominican Republic, them come here, give him all award and all these things. And never even mention one I go for cause of bad weather. I go for cause of bad weather. It's a look at things every eye turn off. Watch a man.
Before me done.
Them never, wait no man, back in time man, them never mention one iota of the atrocity we are going down at Dominican Republic against the 80 people them. But them don't know nothing more about Dominican Republic, them born there. And them come and say, well, anybody were born before such and such a time, I forgot leave. And the same principle. We're going to England now. And the same thing, and nobody now connect the two.
And that's so long when I hear nobody talk about me, I wonder if it is done.
Done where?
A good time, nobody talk about it.
No, because a 9-day thing in Jamaica, everything like a 9-day thing, You talk about it and then it just done and then everybody forget about it and go on to the next subject. Without the other one solve.
Yeah, all this whole advertisement when they talk about how them echo a search for oil on the coast. Boy, I don't know. What happened to find oil on this, man? I know say water's done, the fishing done, everything done,
Well, I'm not going to have oil over there. America will come in here and do certain things.
I wonder why they can't say we can be a different kind of tourist here. If we suppose that we natural food and all them without the chemicals, without the this and that, and the pristine condition, the weather, all them something there. Everybody will come after them medicine,
paradise, man.
Come like that. They used to come from before, they used to say, go west, young man. and send them out to California and breathe fresh air from New York and them place. You said go to Jamaica, young man. You understand? But before me get cut off or anything, you see, anybody listening and them live, don't try to go get some blood at the hospital them sometime. So you see a little accident that we are talking about where they call in about to Cabo the other morning, Sunday morning. With the bus there. Because one of the youth about him get most of the jerk up.
Anybody dead?
No, I'm not dead enough, but
no, anybody at all is dead in the accident?
No. But him get a surgery, a 2 surgery already. Because him live a mess up. Him live a mess up and thing. And yesterday in some surgery, go get blood and thing. Because the hospital need blood and thing. So a couple people go down there go get blood and all that, you know. But them need blood down there. And thing. All about in Jamaica, I guess, you know. But the clocks, them, you know, them say like the driver in front, it's like he time up on them phone, I'm just remember say, Ram, if you turn around there, so.
Watch out, man, it's not phone thing, man.
Zoop. And him just turn. We're not sure if he's up on phone, but something like him just realize him and miss him turn and just turn in front of the bus. You know.
Alright, so give thanks. Yeah, man.
So, Yellow Patrick, Andre.
Alright.
I feel him up every time. Hey, listen to me. Muta.
Yeah.
I don't know if tomorrow, you see, you're going to be busy. But I want to call link if you can give me about 5 minutes or 10 minutes at that time. Somebody I want to come meet you. But
you have to go to that before the program starts.
No, I talk more than call which part to stay.
Oh, no, like, man, I better, well, I like me to tell you know, I come along, Harry?
Well, we could do that then, I guess. Come I get.
No, me make them let you in, man.
Alright.
Me make them let you in.
Alright.
So you don't have the hotel there too? You don't have the hotel?
No, I'm not there now. So I know if I tell you know. Alright, alright. Excuse me. When you come through then tell them then, no?
Yeah, man.
Alright.
Alright, blessed, yeah?
Alright, yeah, man.
Yeah, Muta.
Wait, Mandingo.
Yeah, man, Mandingo. Yeah, man.
Long time I don't hear you, man.
Yes.
But I come to England and I don't ever see you.
Eh?
I come to England and I don't ever see you.
But you don't have my number, man. You never phone me.
Yeah, which number? When I talk about phone, I don't listen to me. I come to England and you never tell the show all over the place.
Yeah, but you have my number. They not just like the time before, man. Then you know.
So me have to call you for you come on the show.
You know, phone and link me. Some more that know where to link you.
No, wait them. Me have to call you for you come on the show.
Rhodes, me would have called you, man. Just like.
No, me not talk about calling me now. For call me too. Me say. So you never intend to come on the show unless me call you.
No, you for call me because you know.
So that's why you don't come on the show to me not call you.
Me would have called you.
So me I say no. Mandingo. I me never call you. Why you don't come on the show?
Hold on. My show pick on me even though you never called me already. You know the time before. You know.
No, me a talk, man. No.
Yeah. But me just show you as an example. Even though you never did link me when you did come the time before, me still come at the show up come.
Yeah.
Saying, right?
Anyway.
And yeah, man, yes, so the thing go. Cause me come in where you there, my phone you still. But Andrew Honest, in gave a speech last Friday, the 20th, and was very interested in Kilburn. Place pack, because a whole cinema, some church have it from our community named Rock at Kilburn High Road, a whole cinema where them convert. And he spoke for about an hour, and I listened to Andrew Honest, who is from Spanish Town, just like myself. Very interesting, and also the question and answer segment. And what I and others notice is that there is no reference for Africans, and Africans are the vast majority of the population of Jamaica, over 90%. And he mentioned how he was Minister of Education, and as we know, under both PMP and JLP, we still don't have the teachings of Marcus Garvey in the school system, Marcus Garvey book.
Yeah.
And a questioner asked Andrew Onish that they fear that the Chinese and the Indians will colonize Jamaica, Africans in Jamaica, just like how the British enslave and colonize, our people there in Jamaica and so on. And Andrew Onish's answer was that him don't want to talk about racial groupings. Now, over 90% of the Jamaican population is African. No matter what the names them want to use to themselves and bleach them skin and do a kind of operation to try destroy that which them can't change, them African race. And he's saying that him don't want to talk about racial groupings. Racial groupings have to talk because I, as a Marcus Garvey African, and other Africans in Jamaica who conscious and know themselves, we do have no intention of exchanging British colonialism for any Chinese or any Indian or any non-African colonialism of our people in Jamaica. No way, no shame, no form. So, being African in Jamaica, that is not going to go away. And this is the fundamental problem that we have in Jamaica, that Jamaica will never progress until the teachings of Marcus Garvey are implemented practically, meaning that African people in Jamaica stop trying to run away from them African race identity, calling themselves West Indian, black, colored. There's a next stupid word about colored. Everybody have color. This thing about people of color is a way of not wanting to identify yourself as an African. I am not no person of no colored or no colored person. I am an African. Stupid, nonsensical term, as Marcus Garvey Jr. used to say too. For real. And the next thing, when the question was asked about homosexuality, because he had some interviews and same Theresa May, that same racist business going on as in the Dominican Republic, as you said, and to be given the president of the Dominican Republic, who killing and murdering Africans in the Dominican Republic because of them Haitian African thing, the racist thing, and him get award, which should not have happened. You mentioned it earlier, and you have done that before too, and myself, right? And this is the kind of thing trying to avoid dealing with the real issues, and there's no getting away from that. He spoke about wanting investment from the USA, wanting investment from Britain, wanting investment from Canada. And I shouted out while he was speaking, what about the investments that Africans overseas in Britain, in the USA, Canada and elsewhere?
And in Africa,
we invest the most in Jamaica in terms of remittances and other forms of investment in Jamaica. Nobody do invest in Jamaica like from overseas, like our people overseas. And what do we have to show for our remittances and for other investments?
Them not a remittance bring more than tourism.
What?
Remittance is more than tourism, bring more than tourism.
Of course. And the thing about tourism, as Marcus Garvey Jr. used to say in the 1960s at Kingston Technical, you cannot build a country depending on tourism, because tourism is a fickle industry. One moment, your country is a place where everybody wants to go, and then the next moment is the next country.
You have hurricane.
You must build, you have to build on things that are grounded and depend on your resources in the country.
Yeah.
You cannot depend on tourism, which depend on whether people want to come to your country or not. Because people, in terms of traveling and visiting places, them fickle. One moment your country carry the swing, the next moment is the next country carrying the swing.
War, civil war, murders, hurricanes.
Precisely.
All them
And the
something.
important thing is, and the next thing that he omitted totally to mention, what about the lack of medical facilities in Jamaica for the vast population of the people? People die in Jamaica, the vast majority who are African, because we are the majority of the population, because there is not enough investment for proper facilities for the health of our people, and no country can progress if you don't have a proper health system. In Jamaica, if you don't have money, you die because you cannot afford the medical bills.
Money buy life.
And this affects the African race more than any other race in Jamaica, because we are the vast majority and we are the most exploited.
Yeah.
You know? And these are the things even people who normally not political was saying, but we don't really impressed with what Andrew, we come to hear what he had to say. And as I did, because I wanted to hear what he had to say, you know. But him not coming with solutions. And when you're trying to distance yourself from the racial situation, it's just like when Peter Phillips of the PNP was here some time ago, in the PNP time when Portia Simpson was the Prime Minister. And somebody in the audience asked him a question about the danger of Chinese colonialism. Peter Phillips was saying the same type of thing. He's saying, we must not be prejudiced. What kind of foolishness is that? We have a right to be concerned about Chinese and any non-African form of colonialism in Jamaica and anywhere else in the African world. We have to deal with that, because I and I, as Africans, students of Marcus Garvey, have absolutely no intention that we as Africans in Jamaica and in Africa and elsewhere to be colonized by any non-Africans. Simple, and that is not going to go away. I'm talking about, and we was mentioning investments from China and too. We, our people outside of Jamaica, we invest the most in Jamaica. Money, buildings, jobs, etc. And what happened? A lot of our people in Jamaica die because of violent crime, murder and that type of thing. Yeah. You cannot have progress in a society, development, when there people operating in a business environment where them fearing for them lives just to operate in business. Yeah. There can be no such progress. And these things, Andrew Onis, have to be dealt with. And the issue of us as Africans, not going to go away mention that Mike Henry from his party. There was mention about reparations, that Mike Henry from his party dealing with reparations. Yeah. That is Mike Henry as an individual. Yeah. I and I as Africans been fighting for reparations with Marcus Garvey Jr. You know that Muta from Kingston Technical days and so on. Right? And reparations has to be done in unity with our other African countries in Mother Africa. It cannot be a thing about divide and rule where you're only dealing within the Caribbean, within CARICOM. It has to be involved totally. It must be a Pan-African thing, reparations. And it's reparations not just from European Christians, but also from Arab Muslims, as Marcus Garvey Jr. said. And also from the Semitic Jews too, who were involved in our enslavement. So we have to deal with these things. And he was mentioning something about how reggae is popular and sports and so. Yes, sports, you see the Bolt winning things and so. But you see in Bolt and others winning games, don't put food on our table. We want to deal with the concrete realities of economic things to benefit the vast majority of our people in Jamaica as African people, because we have always got the worst deal from chattel enslavement coming straight through to now. And these are the things that we will not let go away, and this is why we will always work to implement what Marcus Garvey is saying, because anyone who is against the teachings and practice of Marcus Garvey's Black Prince solution is against independence and progress to the African race. Look at the British Commonwealth. Elizabeth II said that she wants Charles, her son, to become the next head. Now, what some people are saying, which is true, why is it that the British monarch must always be head of the so-called Commonwealth? It should rotate. She said that, and it's 53 countries in this, what them call Commonwealth. And all 53 of them, the other 52, vote unanimously.
But them never said nothing about nothing. Not as it relates to African, the diaspora, so in terms of reparation, in terms of this idea of the Commonwealth, none of them not say nothing. Nothing. Them not say nothing.
But yes, this is anti-African. No wonder people have the mentality, people have been miseducated in Jamaica to hate them African identity. Nothing to deal with our progress as African
Queen tell
people.
them that she want this person to be our successor, and everybody say yes, you me want to be my successor too.
Yeah, and every one of them vote and carry out our wish.
No abstaining.
Buhari in Nigeria, Onis in Jamaica, whoever in Barbados, whoever in Trinidad and Tobago, all of them. None of them make a stand to say, no, we have to have a break from the past. So what is this telling you? This is a continuation of the British Empire, which was the biggest genocidal empire in history. We enslave our people.
Lucky. The whole of them is lucky.
Lucky, yes.
Yes. Anyway.
No. I mean, him can talk, you know. Him have lyrics and thing, you know. Yeah, but it's not lyrics do this with we as African people, you know. No. What the only thing of importance for me as an African is what is of benefit for my African race in and outside of Jamaica.
Yeah.
Being Jamaican is just a nationality, a citizenship. We could have been born in any other country. But as Peter Tosh, my favorite wheeler, say, no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from you have the African features that you're an African. And that's why Marcus Garvey said, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. And we as Africans will not progress on the global stage if Africans in Africa and Africans outside of Africa, if we both groups don't come together and work, as Marcus Garvey said, which was what he did when he established the UNIA and ACL on the 28th of July.
Move.
Yes, every time. Yes, people, hold the faith.
Give
Marcus
thanks.
Garvey every time.
Yeah, man, I see. Yes, a serious thing. The man never, none of them, never mention nothing that is to the black majority in the Caribbean, British Commonwealth. What is the purpose of we being a part of the British? What is the benefits now? When I talk about in the 1960s or 1950s or even 1970s, I say, what is the benefit now for us to be in the British Commonwealth? Because the wealth is not common. The wealth is not common. What is the hell is happening to these black people, these so-called leaders? What the hell them dealing with?